Thank you. Thank you very much. Warm welcome to everyone. Warm welcome to our esteemed panelists as well. The topic that we have today is about multifaceted virtual fashion. When you think about digitalization in fashion, well, it's not exactly something that's very new. For myself personally, I remember that I probably ordered clothes and bought clothes online on e-commerce even before any of the food delivery platforms were around. And this thing, e-commerce itself isn't new. What is new is digitalization in supply chain and production. If you think about what COVID-19 has done, again, whether it's production, sampling, design, all of that has gone virtual. So today we'll spend a little bit more time to do a bit more about the concept of virtual fashion. And we have 5 different speakers across the value chain to share their experts and insights in the topic. So without further ado, I would love to get each of them to quickly introduce themselves. What they will do is 5 minutes presentation to share a bit more about their views on the industry, what they focus on. To the panelists, this morning they have done an excellent job in keeping time. We have a high standards to meet on, but I'll call upon you to give a good, short 5 minutes presentation, then we have more time for Q&A afterwards. So, Roger, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. For those of you who may not know who is Kobo Fashion, let me give you a short 5 minutes presentation. Kobo Fashion is a newborn company, not very old. But if you look back our history, it's actually go back to, back to the 70s. Kobo is a knitwear specialist. We do knitwear. Knitwear is our passion, and we have started knitwear production since 1972. We are hopefully the forefront global knitwear supplier, and we work with a lot of customers overseas, and we hope to be the go-to source knitwear supplier. We co-create product with our customer. We also source material and develop new yarn. And also, led by speed and innovation, we are building a digital ecosystem, and we define the knitwear industry. So let's take a look at who is global and what we do. We are headquartered in Hong Kong. We have 600 staff, consuming around 40 million pounds of material, and work with 110 factories, mainly in China, servicing 300 customers. And we ship around 56 billion pieces of garment. So you can see the company, the members of Kobo. We have Rossi, Billion, Phoenix, and also South Ocean. We spend a lot of time on digitalizing our manufacturing process. We have our innovation lab, collaborated with SHIMA, and we have Ayumi-san today, and she will tell more about SHIMA's collaboration with Cobalt. Our lab is aimed to offer an environment for our customer and also our suppliers to experience new yarn technologies and also develop a solution to the fast-moving market. So in terms of digitalization, most of people would have the design team and also the digital operating separately. Our concept is merging design and digital process as one process, as a platform. So internally, we are connecting our PD and design, operation, merchandising, production hub, and also our sales and marketing office, all on a network. And also our yarn mill, our factory, and also, lastly, we would integrate our customer, buyer, and designer into the system. In terms of sustainability, of course, we have the duty to make our production greener. So we always offer sustainable material for our customer. And we like to require our supplier be able to achieve Hate Index above the 50 score point. And we hope to convert our product development manufacturing process 100% on virtual fashion. So that is our introduction.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Roger. And a bit of advertisement for you. I think they have a fantastic lab over in your offices. Definitely worth visiting, and looking forward for you to share a bit more later during the Q&A as well. Next up, we also have dialing in online today Ms. Christina Jiang, who is the head of BD team of TENCENT. So Christina, warm welcome, and over to you to share a bit more about the work of TENCENT.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Christina, and very honored to attend this meet and meet everyone here. So it's undeniable that technology is developing rapidly in the past few years, and we believe the technology may completely change the traditional our fashion industry. So next slide. So now I'm working in TENCENT. Maybe most of you heard about the company more or less. So we are providing a variety of digital service to the users, from news app to the WeChat social app, and also to the all in entertainment tools. Next slide. Next slide. So, but on top of the all business, we are the most valuable gaming company. Now we own many studios with best talent and tech to offer more business solutions. So actually, in the past years, our team were working very closely with all fashion brands, and we believe with industry-wide attempt to the young consumers, the fashion industry will have to embrace new tech, team up with a field of notable video game producers like us and the developers to offer the consumers the more options. And so we are now not only leveraging our tech to launch a campaign to help the brands or the industry to increase their brand awareness, and we also want to create more values to the whole industry. So next slide. And what can we expect in the future? We believe maybe some of you may heard of the NFT, which is very hot topic currently, and the movie like the Metaverse is coming on the ways. So in the past years, we already started Metaverse program. Here I bring out a program recap video. The team work with Nike, the famous sports brand. We trying to figure out the connection between the running sports and the digital game. Next slide.
在创新游戏风靡的今天，高科技的玩法和体验进一步占据了年轻用户心智。腾讯首款 AR 探索手游《一起来捉妖》联合 Nike 推出“跑出点乐子”创意营销活动，打造了游戏内外双重创新技术体验。 真实打通线上及线下完整链条，游戏内进行 Nike Joyride 跑鞋装扮植入，用户使用后在线上跑步可获得20%加速，凸显了 Nike 的缓震科技带来轻松跑步的体验。结合游戏独有的 AR 探索能力，在门店位置安插线上地图鼓点，直接将线上用户引流到线下门店。 并通过实景 AR 互动功能引导用户线下试穿，还可以与线上妖灵 AR 合影，进而激发社交分享和口碑。活动期间总曝光8345万次，互动参与7126万人次。
So just as the video shows, so as a consumer, now you can wear cool sneakers at rest, but also you can use the sneaker in the digital world, where you can show off the cool item you purchase and to interact with the real world together with the virtual world. But we also think the new technology can do more things. So we hope reduce the negative impact of the fast fashion industry in our environment also. So last year, we also worked with the famous brand Burberry to the collaboration centered around the spirit of nature, while to drawing on Burberry and the gaming long-standing exploration of the relationship between the human and the nature. So next slide. Here we got a TVC, and we want to show up our spirit of the nature. So in this program, actually we create a virtual avatar of Burberry in the game of Tencent. Then each of the consumer, when they buy the avatar in the game, then Tencent and Burberry will donate the money to the charity program and to help to build an ecosystem of the nature. Okay, thanks. That's all of my present. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina. I think, again, the gamers in the audience must have been excited by some of the videos you have shown. So looking forward to chat a bit more about that in a bit. So next up, we have Mr. Well Lam, MD of High Fashion Group. So the floor is yours, Well.
Okay, so today the topic is about future and also about virtual. So my tone of presentation will be more like brainstormy, critical your brain type of thinking. So if there is any interesting thing can come from designer, brand owner, supply chain, welcome to think together to how to create the future fashion. So who are we? High fashion. It's basically an ecosystem because we have a vertically integrated manufacturing facilities. We also have our industrial park operation. We do brand retailing. We also have our own fashion academy. So with this ecosystem, we actually treat it like as a platform so that we can work with all different players to bring this fashion industry forward. So we welcome anyone to collaborate together. So this is me, not important. So why digital? Why virtual? There are lots of reasons that I'm not gonna elaborate too much, but for us, we think that the most important two pieces of things that can create this virtual fashion world will be the blockchain and the 3D application, which I'm gonna explain further. So why blockchain is gonna be important? Because the traditional supply chain, it's a proprietary system, meaning it's closed. It's closed from the consumer, it's closed from others, because in the old way, brands would like to conceal it because they have their patent, they have their supply chain, they have the cost efficiency, they want to hide it from the competitor. But due to regulatory change, ESG, customer awareness, all sort of sustainability requirement, this supply chain information is starting to surface. And where is the best place to host this information? And it will be blockchain. But what does it mean? It's like in the future, with your garment, with a scan, then you can show the product journey, where it is from, how is it manufactured, how much carbon it consumed, and what does it mean? It means the supply chain will be more transparent. The consumer will be more educated. And the new supply chain is the new balance of scale of the ecosystem. So before, it is a centralized proprietary system owned by the brand that no one knows. But in the future, it will be a decentralized supply chain that many people can access. So with this new gateway open, there are a lot more new possibility. Innovative party can come to the supply chain, and creative people, designer, new brands can emerge faster, easier, because the gateway to this chain now is open, more accessible to others. And one of the very important things to open this key to this new chain will be the 3D textile, which I think later Browzwear is gonna introduce better than I do. So what high fashion will do is like high fashion will assist, will work with the industry player, the brands, the suppliers, the consumers, everyone, the designers, to digitalize this ecosystem. So this is one of our mission that we would like to do. So what we are going to do will be, we would like to work with a lot of suppliers to digitalize the fabric library. And so this library will be open to brands, designers, to have these files to create the new garments, new fashion pieces, everywhere, anywhere, or whoever in the world. And they can be pretty much sure that the fashion, 3D fashion that they have created, it's producible because it is backed up by a physical fabric behind. So we can see this. With this technology, we can link the supplier, we can link designer, we can link innovative players to create new items, new things, and easily distribute to everywhere in the world. And so we would like to build this platform and connect the fashion community together to drive the fashion innovation forward. Yeah, so this is something that we are trying to do and would like to work with anyone who is interested in building this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, again, love the concept of a digital library. It really helps build an end-to-end platform that industry partners can work with.
Thank you.
Next up, I think again, you help us to set the stage for Sharon from Browzwear. So we have, again, CEO of Browzwear, Sharon Lim, with us online. Sharon, floor is yours. Feel free to share a bit more about what you guys are working on.
Sure. Hi, Alexandra. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. And thank you very much again, for doing a great segue for me to come in. Now, the Browzwear is a 3D tech company, and what we exist to do, our vision is really to try to bring consumer engagement, which you see so much of when you see what Tencent is doing, you see consumers are already engaging in 3D, and to try to bring the consumer engagement closer, with the supply chain and manufacturing. This is what we exist to do, and we do it primarily through our core technologies and our platform that's also powered by our technology. Now, would someone play the video? I prepared a video, and I would appreciate it if someone plays a video, and then I'll continue on. Great. That's one of the things I love about what I do, because the technology speaks more than I need to speaks for itself, more than I need to say too much about it. But I think what I'm really excited to be here today is just to see the industry change. I've personally been doing this for the last 18 years, and I used to come from the industry. I used to work for Tommy Hilfiger, and so having gone through sourcing all the way to wholesale and retailing. I've seen the industry and its pretty long product cycle time all the way to in-store time. And then, of course, in the industry also make its leap into consumer engagement through online buying and selling over the years. And now we have this wonderful opportunity to really engage even more deeply, but not just engage or visual for the sake of visual or look good, but really to engage with a product. All 3D products can be engaged and all 3D people can be engaged. And the information actually brought from the front to the back end. And this essentially is what I mean by closing the gap between the consumer engagement, regardless of who comes in between, the brands, retailers, or even amazing e-com companies like Tencent, and then all the way to the back end. If this information could really flow all the way to the back end for manufacturers itself, we are looking at tremendously a very different way where the industry buys, sell, and make. And so essentially this is one of the reasons why, main reason why I'm in this talk and would love to hear more and also share more. And well, if you're looking for a partner to really develop that ecosystem, Browzwear is never just about Browzwear alone. Browzwear is always about Browzwear and partners. So we have over 100 tech partners that we've brought into the fashion world, and we would love to continue to also partner with the fashion world and really bring about this and accelerate this. So I'll take you up on the challenge.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sharon. Again, I love what you mentioned about how the role of technology can actually connect and bridge across like different industries, but also across the supply chain itself. So thanks for that. So last but not least, like we have Ayumi-san from Shimazaki. I think Roger, again, you mentioned a bit about what they do, but floor is yours, Ayumi.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here, and I'm very excited. And this is my first panel discussion, so a little bit nervous, but very excited. First of all, let me introduce about our company profile. Sorry, I'll introduce myself. I'm from Japan, SEIKI, Japan, but I'm based in Hong Kong for supporting customer to technically support, but utilize our SHIMA technology, and also providing the digital consulting. We have a collaboration office with the Browzwear and then Kobo Fashion. So I'm based in that office there. And let me introduce our company profile. We are SHIMA SEIKI is the leading company of brand knitting machine manufacturers, established 1962, established by Masahiro Shima, our current chairman of company. And our headquarter office is located at Wakayama City, Japan, and we are the global company has offices more than 80 countries. And we have been at forefront of with our machine main product. We have sold this machine more than 200,000 units to more than 95 countries. And this is our signature and then flagship model machine, whole garment, which is 3D knitwear. I will introduce this later. Yeah, whole garment machine replaces conventional knitwear process into one simple process production. It eliminates production waste and reduces the labor cost, an efficient and sustainable way of producing the knitwear. This is the site of the 1980s, the sewing factory. But as you can imagine, now they also still work the same way to utilize a sewing factory because secure the human resource for sewing is very difficult, and also the sewing skill need a very high skill. But utilize a whole garment, it's going to be totally a game changer. Because as you can see here, this is a conventional knitwear process. You need to knitting like front body, back body, and sleeves are separated, knit down, and then you need to sew together. However, the whole garment you can knit in the entire one piece as a 3D knitwear. So you don't need to do the sewing later. And of course, no seams, draper is very superior comfort. And this is the history how the whole garment machine born. Originally, Dr. SHIMA, our chairman, invented from the globe machine, and then the globes are can be transformed. Like you have a finger, then this 3 fingers is going to be the front body, and then left and then right finger is going to be the sleeves. So they invented this whole garment knitwear by utilized this method. And some of you never heard of our SHIMA SEIKI, then probably wonder why I'm here. This is the reason why I'm here, because today we're gonna talk about the virtual fashion and the virtual system. SHIMA SEIKI is not only focused on knitting machine manufacturing, but also we do developing the software for virtual sample system, which is called Apex. And recently we released the software version, which is called Apex Biz. And this is the history of computer graphic development. We actually started this business from like 4 decades ago. We bought the special graphic board sold by NASA, 1981. And many of the history, we keep brushing up with the technology, and we embedded this Apex 3. Apex series is the only one 3D design system integrate many functions such as, of course, the knit programming for the machine production, design creation, and then fabric simulation. And tons of the fabric simulation is the word first, and then super realistic quality. And we do have 3D pattern creation and sales promotion supporting as well. And then what's the difference between other software and another industry is the connected to the machine production. And this quality is the, I could say the industry #1 quality. It's a super realistic. You can see here the dimensional structures, and the fiber, the yarn. You can see super realistic quality in the virtual sample. The reason why the virtual sample quality in the SHIMA is realistic because we utilize actual scan yarn. In the conventional way, we need to, a customer who utilize Apex, they need to scan the yarn by themselves and then introduce into the Apex. But recently, actually last year, we released this new web-based library platform, which is called Yarnbank. And Yarnbank is allowed customer register free of charge, and then they can search the market available yarn, and also they can download the yarn and insert to the simulation. This is the Yarnbank platform. As you can see here, there are a lot of function and keyword you can search by the trend and the season, and the colors, of course, the pricing range. After you input those keywords so that you can see all the yarn available. Yes. So this is the comparison between without the Apex and with Apex. So conventional way, you need to prepare a lot of process to make the one physical sample. For example, like preparing yarn, programming, knitting, and then finishing, transforming. A lot of process you need to go through. But with the Apex virtual sampling, you can see that dramatically reduce those waste, and then of course eliminate that waste, and then time and cost as well. And Apex not only focus on flat knitting simulation, but also we cover with other simulation as well, woven, towels, circular knittings, embroidery. We actually cover all different kinds of like fabric simulation. So a lot of industry, a lot of fashion industry, from the apparel, trading company, manufacturer, they utilize our system. And as I showed you earlier, we have online service such as Yanbank, and we do have our e-learning system, which is called SHIMA Nabi. And FAQ answer the question, general question. And we do have a web library, which can download the programming data. And we do have a neat PLM system specialized for flat knitting machine. Yeah. This is all about our total fashion system Apex and our company profile. Thank you.
Again, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Big fan of history, so really like the historical overview you gave, and I think that also shows the progress that we have made as an industry towards digitalization. So, each of you shared a bit about what you're doing, and I think the interesting thing is when people think about virtual fashion, it can mean very different things. For some, it might mean NFTs or blockchain. For some, it might mean virtual sampling or 3D design. So I have two questions for all five of you, right? Question one is, what does virtual fashion actually mean for your business? So that's question one. Question two is, when you think about virtual fashion, obviously there's physical fashion, actual real-life apparel. For some industries, let's say it's the movies, everything can be digitized. You can think of future like that, right? But for fashion, I can't imagine a future where we don't actually wear clothes. Real-life clothes would always have its role. So question two for you is, what's the role of virtual fashion alongside real-life fashion? And maybe we'll start virtually. So over to you, Sharon, to kick us off with your thoughts on those two questions.
Sure. I love that question, by the way, Alexandra. So it's always the difference between, is it just about look, or is it about the real thing? And for Browzwear, the company has a really interesting history of how it all started with consumer engagement in virtual fitting. And then this was like in the early 2000. And then finding out that the fashion industry really didn't have virtual garments at all. So how do you get an industry full of people, all right, to go into virtual try-on when you don't even have virtual clothes? And what does it mean to have virtual clothes? So we actually went backwards, started partnering with some of the leading suppliers like Delta and Delta Galileo and all, and started really further developing the algorithm or the technology to be what we call true to life. Browzwear is the only company today that still holds a patent for virtual garments. And the idea was this, and there was a lot of learnings from a manufacturer who became a design partner to teach Browzwear basically how do you really bring prediction into virtual. So it's not just about making a garment that looks good, because at the end of the day, I love what Yumi-san said, it's at the end of the day, you need to get a garment made. For sustainability to happen, for changes in the industry to really happen, it needs to be embedded into the physical process, and for things we really have to change the way we make things. So for us, the true to life part is about being able to simulate correctly, and not just in terms of look, but also be able to take that 3D file, which is also something that we also develop an open format to allow files to basically capture a lot of manufacturing or manufacturable information so that it can plug back in to manufacturing companies or even to other knitwear companies outside of SHIMA. Now, the idea is this: only when all the systems are really connected, all right, then can the industry really be producing a garment efficiently and from digital. And now when you can do that, and when you can go from design to development, how Ms. Yumi showed, then you basically can also take a look at it, and you can basically go also from selling digitally and then moving it backwards and having on-demand manufacturing. So there's tremendous opportunity, exponential impact that we can make to sustainability when the industry changed the way it really works. So in Browzwear, we actually have a term that's called phygital. Basically, it's digital and physical. It's gotta be two sides of the same coin, and it's got to impact each other.
Very, very clear articulation. And I again liked what you really said about embedding it into the physical process. So Christina, over to you. I think when you think about Tencent, you think about omni-channel, right? I think Tencent has built such an extensive omni-channel, connecting physical with digital across many other sectors. When you think about fashion as a vertical, what does it mean to you, right? In terms of virtual fashion, how does that sit next to real-life physical fashion products for you? Christina, I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, for Tencent, we probably think the virtual fashion or digital fashion, it's a kind of lifestyle. For example, in the long past years, humans trying to show off themselves so well to wear cool clothes or making them beautiful. But in the future, maybe your interactive way with your friends and to show off your things will be very different. Just like we already present the program with Nike, we probably need to present yourself or to demonstrate yourself, your characteristic or your personality through a very interesting way, so the digital tools. That will be the first thing. It's kind of the way you trying to present yourself. And the other things is like maybe some of you have watched the movie and or something news about the metaverse. We think it's a kind of business. Maybe some of you already know the Louis Vuitton, Burberry, and other brands. They are creating the game themselves. So in the very long past years, the traditional fashion, actually they trying to sell piece of clothes to the consumer. So for example, for normal consumers who are not have maybe enough money or enough place to hold on all the clothes they want to have. But in the future time, will be more possibility to expand the business because the fashion is not the physical product, it's also a digital product. You can hold or you can have whatever how much you want it, because you don't need to consider more about the space where to put it. So you just put it in a digital way. So it's a lot of business potential for the industry to explore. I think the value or more business opportunity here. And also that we think that also provides a lot of maybe more opportunity for new brands or the new artists, more way to show off themselves actually, because because fashion actually it's a very big industry, and for the young artists or young fashion designer, they are not be able to make the clothes or make the garment, the fashion themselves, because they don't have the much power or much supply chain to support them. but in the future, they will be able to do that in the digital way. So we think that it also provides opportunities for more youngsters to create the fashion they want to present themselves. Yeah.
Great. Again, I think super helpful. Like it's a form of self-expression, but you also mentioned a lot about the business case and opportunities that industry can have. So to our panelists who are here in person, all of you, are working in the supply chain. What does, again, virtual fashion mean for you? What kind of benefits or challenges does it bring for your business? Roger?
Well, if we go back, 2 to 2.5 years ago, when we started the digitalization journey, it has not been a very easy journey because at that time, I think technology was not very mature. I think the GPU performance has not been great. The rendering result has not been great. And also the training of people has been a big challenge because it takes time to learn the technology. And also when we ask top managements to put their money on the unknown technology and also have to train young people who has no knowledge of manufacturing, it has been a great challenge. But of course, if we look at the pandemic situation today, it's actually changed the way we work because we can no longer send physical sample to our customer. And also the supply chain has been greatly disrupted. So without early investment, I would say Kobo would not exist today, to be honest, because the customer can't place order with you if you can't deliver realistic product and also virtually, of course, and then you send physical sample afterward. So the opportunity, I would say, in the first place, is to be able to keep you in the business. That's key. And the second is with the learning, with the enhancement of the system. And today, I think most of the customer would ask for virtual fashion first and take a look. If the product is right, then they will send you the physical inquiry. So we are going through the transition period, having physical and virtual running at the same time. And I think if we, continue to operate that way, the weight between physical and virtual will change. That will be more on virtual versus physical. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. No, again, I think you brought a really important point that it's no longer optional. It's something that's a must to stay in business. But also, I think what a lot of people won't see from the outside is that COVID accelerated digitalization. But it wasn't last year. A lot of investments actually been going on for a long time. And last year, really, everything accelerated. Yeah. Well, for yourself, how about for your business? How has trend of virtual fashion been playing out?
Well, I think that for us manufacturer, that we have been here and then we can survive through the pandemic. We can be quite sure that we have some certain type of competitive advantage, efficiency in our production, in our facility, in our creativity. But then for us, it's okay, what is the next step, right? Because I think pretty much on the physical world, people are investing or has been invested to a certain level. And for sure, in the future for us, it seems like the more application on digitalization or more digitalization of your own supply chain, it will be the source of competitive advantage because it will open up a lot of different possible opportunity because just like what I said, the concept of decentralization and the concept of being more transparent, and it will bring different collaboration possibility together. For example, with Browzwear working together, then we can link the gap much closer with the designer and consumer. And probably working with TENCENT, we can utilize their IP, create the product, and using their platform to distribute our productivity or our creativity to using their platform, which means we can reach the consumer in a very a different channel. And also, just like before, you can see blockchain will enable finance system to go to the supply chain much easier. So it can see that once you go into digital, different opportunity arise, and then the supply chain will gonna be different. So this is something I think is like, we can see this different digitalization technology coming into different pieces, and who is the one that can link them all together and make it work for yourself, then it's gonna be the new competitive advantage. So this is something that we're trying to build to make it work.
Again, I think, and I really like the holistic approach in thinking about it. Ayumi, for yourself, like especially how has last year been? Have you really seen changes in demand and how people actually perceive like virtual fashion?
Yeah, definitely. I think first of all, like virtual fashion and virtual sampling itself is definitely important key element in order to deliver the fashion industry to the next level. And especially this obvious situation, like fashion industry was damaged a lot from this pandemic, and then we all forced to utilize this the digital platform, and then this virtual fashion, and then also especially a pro company forced to try to figure it out how they can connect to the consumers in digital environment only. So I think in fact, many of our pro company, they already moved to their business into the e-commerce and then online business. And then we also support a lot of customers who were a little struggle to utilize the digital platform 2-3 years ago, but then now it's like all forced to utilize the digital platform because apparel wants the digital, and also the suppliers like automatically need to utilize. So yeah, like definitely the virtual fashion and the virtual sampling is the keyword that we need to consider and then need to utilize it.
Excellent. So, our audience have been superb in keeping questions coming. So what I would do is I would do a round of sort of like open fire, open mic for the 5 of you, right? Some of the key questions that audience have. A lot of it is about really the nitty-gritty details of virtual fashion. So first off, someone was asking, how much time and cost does it actually save through virtual fashion, through things like 3D sampling or virtual sampling? How much does it actually translate to the ROI? So again, open mic. Any one of you, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in because at the beginning of the week I was in a redress, zero waste forum, and I heard an astronomical number. I mean, we've been responsible for millions, if not more than millions of 3D garments produced over the life of Browzwear. All right, and last week I heard of this week I heard of this company. It's one of the largest manufacturer, and he told me that 3,000 virtual samples they did last year as a result of COVID. It was a quick acceleration. And that if they had tried to make the garment itself, it would have been equal to 8 million liters of water. That's astronomical. When I heard that, I mean, I always knew that we always know that was a the strong sustainable aspect of it is real. So when we look at what is the investment and then versus, what is my return, I would say that we measure business impact by your impact to your revenue, your impact to your costs, but also the impact to the risk. What COVID showed the world was that there is a risk of business as usual. Business as usual and doing nothing is a huge risk to a company, and because the crisis like the pandemic can happen. So beyond looking at direct cost itself, it's looking at the broader agility that digital really has shown, and for sure, 18 years in the business, tells you that the impact is huge. If not, there will not be the continuity in the business and the technology. And I think that's how we should be looking at the returns. It has to be very holistic.
Again, very helpful, Sharon. Roger, anything to add from your side?
Well, as a manufacturer, I can tell more solid, answer to the question. Kobo ship around 20,000 styles a year, all right? And the adoption rate is about 5%. So you can imagine 5% of 20,000 styles that we ship. So how many styles we have to create, to deliver this, to materialize this order? So the effort put on product development has been tremendous. And also with the online e-commerce and also omni-channel requirement, the order quantity getting smaller and smaller. So if we say product development cost is 2% of your order value, and if you multiply by the number of styles that we need to handle, that would be crazy. So I would say what we are facing is about whether the economic of making physical sample could sustain our business going forward. So virtual could be the only option for us to move forward.
Okay, very helpful again. I think, both of you have mentioned very clear numbers and the business case behind it. There are some questions that are more about implementation, right? I guess one of the questions that come up is when it comes to fashion, whether you're a buyer or brand, you still want to have the feel or the physical feel of the fabrics or the apparel. How do you think about that challenge when you're thinking about 3D design, 3D sampling, or virtual fashion? So, Well and Ayumi, any thoughts on that particular matter?
Yeah, my experience. Yes, a lot of customer who, especially in the manufacturing side, of course, a buyer wants to see the actual fabric, and then of course they want to see hand feel and touch. And it used to make a lot of sample as the buyer require. So some of the manufacturers said, sometimes I need to do sampling more than 10 times. Of course, at least they need to do 3-4 times. And then apparel wants to see and again and again. And it takes a long lead time, and then the process is a huge time and then cost. And then the virtual, after they introduced virtual sample, it's we're not saying you can reduce completely zero, and we're not saying replacing just only utilize virtual sample. We are saying narrow down those processes, especially development sample, and then the second stage and third stage. That first stage, you can utilize virtual sample. What you can see a lot of options with the colors and then yarn difference and then structure difference. Those you can cover with the virtual sample on the first stage. And then the next stage, and you can narrow down with another virtual sample. So then the final stage, you can knit down actual fabric and an actual garment. So then you can narrow down in the development stage that you the sampling for making the sampling those amount of sample in the development stage. So this is, then our customers understand that they can utilize it, because at the end of the day, you need to knit down actual sample, and then you need to see that, check the actual fabric before you go to mass production. So yeah, that's how we can provide the technology to the customer in the development stage.
Yeah, very clear. Again, thinking about it in terms of stages. Well, anything to add from your side?
Well, for us, it's many of our customers actually have done this kind of alignment, because if we are not using the software to extend, to maximize its function, then it's very hard to have a very close feeling. For example, actually, if the customer are working on the core fabric that they have been running again and again, it's pretty much that you do not need to have the physical sample. So it is different phase, different time, and different understanding. So we are saying that it can be, let's say, 50-60% can be replaced and maybe others will need to have more swatches, more filling. But then the thing, in order to drive this change, it's really the brand, the management that's willing to push for this change, because I think it's one of the technology that you have to try and then adapt it, then you will know the difference and to tweak it, and slowly it will become, it's a second nature to you. So this is something I think it's something that is not impossible to break through, but it takes time to learn.
Yeah, again, like super helpful, thank you. And we covered a lot on the manufacturing production side. Shifting gears to the consumer side, I guess, Christina, a question for you, right? So, I watch Chinese dramas sometimes, probably more often than I should, and every now and then there's a lot of product and brand placements into those dramas, into games like you mentioned. When you think about it, I guess one criticism people always say is that, is virtual fashion just a gimmick? How much of it is actual business opportunity? So if a brand comes to you, how would you respond to that? Like, what are opportunities and limitations of virtual fashion?
I think first of all, also just hold to the previous question. Actually, the virtual fashion is not only a gimmick. It's kind of, behind that is a kind of technique. So the technology like 5G capability will maybe allow the fashion or the consumers to view the floor at the cut of fabrics at a very super close distance and in a fine detail, creating a kind of seamless experience. So it's kind of cutting to increase efficiency to the consumers to decide what they want to buy, but from a very long distance location, they don't have to be presented in the place they don't have to present it in the store actually, but they can. The things and the product can be projected from another location, but the consumer can feel it and to touch it and to make them decide what they want to buy and to make a decision very quickly. This is the first thing. And the second thing is, because now it's at a very early stage, then we can only to show off we just put the real product or physical product into a gaming or digital world. But in the future, maybe it's kind of revolution. For example, when you decide what kind of the design or the color the consumer like, it's you don't have the much more database behind. But in the future, maybe you can test the fabric, the ideas in the digital world first, then you have the enough digital base to support all your fabric produce, your design, and all the manufacturing stage. So it has kind of like helping to increase more predictive, I think. So it's kind of to help the business to go up. And it's also just as I mentioned, so like some brands, they are creating the business. So I think it's kind to increase the people, even they don't have, they are not your target, or even they don't have enough money to buy a luxury product. They also have a solution or alternative to reach kind of a virtual item of the brands. So, well, you can sell hundreds of thousands dollars of luxury pieces of clothes to the higher consumers, but you also can provide the alternative solution for the young people. They don't have they don't have enough money. So I think but it's not like just you are damaging your brand, but you have the solution to provide them in another way, but in a different value things. So I think there are a lot of business opportunity behind that. That's why many brands they're working on that. I think everyone is trying to study what is the business will be in the future.
Yeah, I think again, I think what you mentioned about it's also broadening access and allowing again the younger generation to have a form of self-expression and self-actualization. But related to that, right, I guess a question that has come up multiple times is also on the social impacts of virtual fashion. And the argument basically goes that if you have all this digitization, sampling, virtual sampling, what does it actually mean for the workers who are actually working in factory floors? You think about potential job losses. You think about skills that are required. So open my question for all five of you, right? What do you think are some of the potential social challenges that might come because of virtual fashion, and your thoughts on the way forward for this?
Well, I think if we, technologies come out every day. If we worry about job loss, then we should also think about the job creation as well. So it's not the people who lost their job because of technology. Perhaps it's because they failed to adopt or learn new skill of the new technology. But also the virtual development of product doesn't mean that we can replace the craftsmanship of manufacturing. So whatever you create in your virtual lab, it has to be producible in your floor. And this craftsmanship wisdom would not go away because of the technology or the virtual technology. So we are seeing the craftsmanship and digital development are actually coming hand in hand and develop at the same time. And we don't see major reduction or impact to the physical process or employment of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Sharon.
Alexandra, I'll just pipe in on this. The industry pretty much today run on, we design and then we hope to sell. So we design, we make, and then we hope to sell. This is generating a lot of markdowns, waste, and last year in COVID, the number of stories I've heard of factories that got stuck or even wholesalers that got stuck with inventories that all of a sudden the orders disappeared also resulted in huge number of job losses. The reason simply because the manufacturers and a lot of the wholesalers were not able to react. The supply chain and how they've been working is so physical that when this actually happened, it was just about stocks. Now, if you were to relook at, again, opportunities and relook at how digital could potentially bring and usher in a new era where things could be sold. And last year, actually, a lot of our clients, simply because samples didn't come in, they literally pivoted to take their 3D and pivoted to online selling, simply because the samples didn't come in, they couldn't do any photography, so this was the only choice. All right, and then it started sparking. If I could do all this and people are still buying online, what could happen if whatever I sold online actually had a manufacturer or actually had supply chain that was digitally enabled or agile, connected to me to be able to deliver on demand? Then that really started sparking quite a lot. And a lot of more of our mature customers who've been in digital for several years, then this ushered in a whole new era of possibilities more than the negative impact. In fact, it started to bring about a real manifestation that however we are doing things today, to design, make, and hope to sell is really a broken model. And we need to usher in, or we need to rethink and redesign a better model.
And when you think about what you mentioned, redesigning a new form of business or operation model, we talked a lot about the business case, some of the implementation challenges. What other challenges do you guys see, or gaps that you think that you need additional technology or additional change in mindset to really fully embrace virtual fashion going forward? Well, any feedback from your side?
what I'm thinking, it's because of this new virtual fashion, actually it's opportunity for creative people to emerge, for new brand to emerge. And the thing is like, we do need the supply chain or like the supplier also to provide this channel to open to them to produce because let's say the loss of orders, right? If we have the network of designers that can design clothes and sell on demand, then probably we can quickly fill up our production space as well. Not necessarily has to tie to this customer or that customer. It can be like an open platform. And as long as we have order, we do quick turns, we produce efficiently, probably it's a better way. And probably it's also because of, let's say, blockchain, smart contract, of this kind of things. We can redistribute the profit or the revenue differently, in a more effective way. So the thing is like, it's the adoption. Like everyone will need to see this opportunity, like Browzwear provide a new opportunity for designer to use this system. And then like some supplier adopt this very early on and will open to people that would like to play the system. And probably we need someone or some network to sell this kind of on-demand based website, or they can, it's very easy now, Shopify to create their own store and to sell on demand, and we have manufacturing support them, then this thing will work together. So it is like we need not just one party to change, but we need to have like a frontier to work together. And then, yeah, I totally believe this is workable.
Ayumi, anything from your side?
Yes, I think Hong Kong is very like potential, and then we have a lot of like technology, and then as a like innovation hub to link it up to China and ASEAN, other countries like the sourcing. So I think to be successfully introduce this new technology and new like a digital platform, I think sourcing and the manufacturer need to be more look harder that how they can adapt and integrate this technology into the smart supply chain. And yeah, this is I think one of the important role that we need to play as like a sourcing hub.
Yeah, so I think both of you mentioned a bit about like working with the supply chain and partners. So question for all five of you, right? I think in the audience today, both online and in person, there are probably some brands, fashion brands who are out there in the audience. What would be your message to them, right? Like what are common misconceptions about virtual fashion, or what are common questions that they have that you would like to answer? So again, we can go around, like maybe begin with Roger and then go around circle, yeah.
Well, I think on the retailing side, retailer, our overseas customer in the U.S. and also Europe, already highly digitized their operation, including product creation, including the channel selling through the product. But if you look at the supply chain on the back end, look at Asia, the manufacturing process is still very analog. We are still doing a lot of tech pack, collecting material. Of course, we start using virtual fashion, but the proportion of virtual fashion versus physical sampling is still quite low at this stage. So when there is higher demand from the online e-commerce, there would be a lot more short lead time, quick response, small minimum order coming to the supply chain. So the analog way of operation of the supply chain won't be able to support the ongoing development of online retailing. And also the big data analytic keep feeding designer what is trending in the market. There will be a lot of demand, pressurizing the supply chain. And I don't see the current supply chain would be able to respond or be able to provide good solution to the demand on the demanding side. So I think on our side, as a supply chain operator, we have to, first of all, digitize our process the Internet of Things, the automation of process. All these has to work together. Otherwise, there would be a big disconnection of the highly digitalized retailing and then the analog supply chain. We are actually left behind. That we have to accept. That is the fact today. In terms of what's the future, development, I think for the young designer and with the virtual fashion, there is opportunity. Creating new style, creating new brand, the cost is much less than before because if you want to develop a brand, it's actually capital intensive. You have to put a lot of money on promotion, on creating physical product. But with virtual fashion, you will be able to, present your collection, present your idea in a digital way, and the cost is much less, right? So there is opportunity. But how can we connect the creation side with the supply chain, operation? That's the challenge that we have to, deal with.
Yeah, again, very well put on the challenge. Like Christina, for yourself, like again, to the brands and retailers in the audience, like what would be your message or things you would like them to know?
Actually, in the past few years, we work a lot with the brands and also the supply chain. But most of the things, I think the question coming out from the brand perspective is they are kind of considering or even they want to try the virtual business or virtual fashion, but they also think of the kind of trademark problem, because usually now the creation of a digital version fashion trademark doesn't have to involve a traditional trademark, the bureau. And they also think the uncertainty also is coming out. So how to involve the legal or to solve also the storage issue of the current the itinerary of fashion. For example, because as we all know, the digital world or the digital game, they run very fast. They don't like the traditional fashion. They will quite run a long time, maybe even more than the 5 years or 10 years or even 15 years. But the digital world, they die quickly. So the most fashion brands or the company, they will worry about how to long holding this value of the digital fashion. I think that takes time for the digital the company or the business to identify the solution for this. But simply current now, we don't have the kind of answer to this. But I think in the future, with more the business or the partner to be involved in these areas, will be more kind of legal policy will coming out in the future. And also for the supply chain, just as mentioned, we also worked with supply chain because it's in TENCENT, we actually have a lot of database of the consumers. We are thinking of how to put the virtual fashion into a real product. And when we talk to the supply chain, well, they have to usually they need to order a big amount of products before they decided they can to go into this industry. But for our tech company, for the digital company, we run very fast. We usually have a small orders for supply chain, but it will be very hard for them to accept this kind of business models. So I think that will be need to more discussion about this, how to solve this solution to make the supply chain together work with our tech company to work more efficiently. Yeah, but I also think in the future there will be a lot of problem will coming out from the virtual fashion, actually, because they're creating some kind of brand. They are trying to save the trademark, so they are working on their own program or gaming or whatever digital experience, but it's also to have to think about the cost and the outcome actually in the end. So yeah, I think that there are a lot of questions need to be solved, but we are working on that. We'll have found a solution for that in the future. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, again, I think like super helpful. Like those are all like very practical questions brands and retailers should consider. Well, Ayumi, like anything to add from your side?
Well, I think, for example, if the consumer now are actually buying a lot of things online without touching the garment, touching the fabric, and so why can't our designers do the same, right? It's important now, it's the online, the image, the visual, which I think 3D visualization technology already can bring us very close to that. So I think this is something that worth to think about. It is already changed, like the purchasing pattern has changed. So our working pattern has to change as well. So this is one thing. And second, for business to go on digital, I think we have to think of a totally different mindset. It's physical, yeah, we trade with dollar. We buy from you, exchange money. But then in digital world, we trade data. So I know more about my customer. I get information about what trend is coming. Not necessarily has to be in dollar value, but it's actually data exchange. So this is something I think it's, we have to think. And I think the last thing is just need to adopt this technology and implement into yourself. Otherwise, otherwise it's gonna not be efficient for the world. So yeah, this is something that we'd like to share.
Okay. Very helpful. Ayumi, anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, yes, as Roger mentioned earlier, I'm totally agree with you. So like in a production and then sourcing or so, they need to, there is still like a lot of physical sample is made, and then still I can see a lot of like supplier and then manufacturer, they're struggling to utilize this new digital way. But this is definitely the time, and then right in a transition, we need to move to the digital way, because actually, you know, as we all know, the fashion industry is like little lagging behind the digital compared to other industries, especially like Christina, she mentioned earlier that like NFT and then a lot of like a blockchain, and then there's like a new industry and then keep coming, and then fashion industry is like still struggle to go forward. So I think as a global supply chain, and then we have a lot of those who like a young entrepreneur to provide like a new technology and then innovate idea. So I think we definitely need to adapt this new technology to go forward.
So again, like members of the audience have been very helpful in giving additional questions. Feel free to keep them coming. If you have the name tag, there's a QR code at the back that you can scan to submit additional questions. But we have one question for Sharon specifically, and it's really about, are you currently exploring 3D fit technology for soft form to enable like, you know, true to life technical analysis of performance or technical apparel? So when they say technical apparel, they mean, the example he gave was like lingerie, so things like push-up bras and other sort of like control and performance wear.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. And the thing is this, I mean, with soft bodies and all, it's not new. In fact, with Browzwear, you know, in our platform of over 100 technology partners and even researchers, some of them already have been working on soft body for quite a while together. You know, we work together, and there is one particular partners actually that have developed something and started to work with one of the world's largest lingerie company in this area as well. So the answer is yes. But I would say I would take it also a little further to also say this. any type of change is disruptive. And digital native basically understand that all change is disruptive, technology is disruptive. But after so many years, and it will not be the first. I mean, the world has been going digital or digitizing for in other industry for 30, 40 years itself. Everybody has gone through and moved through this change itself to bring disruption to transformation. And the fashion industry is actually no different at all. The best way to do it is to actually just you got to take the step. I think with COVID, what it has done for the industry, it accelerated this new norm, and help people to see that there are other ways to basically change and transform. In fact, the technology like Zoom is an example of how once we felt that we all had to travel around the world and see each other face to face, but how in the last year and a half, this has completely changed. So whatever it is that is, whatever type of seemingly new things or challenges that you may have, the truth is this: there are so many digital natives out there developing solutions, and I think we'll be more than happy to actually continue to attract, recruit, bring these guys into fashion tech and actually introduce them to the fashion partners that we have.
Great. So I guess like a final question before we wrap up for all of you, right? We are here in, I think this is the 5th Fashion Summit. We're here in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has always been, has a very historical and heritage position in the textiles and apparel industry. We talked a lot about, virtual fashion trends in mainland China, around the world. What does all this mean for Hong Kong? Like, what kind of opportunities do the next generation Hong Kong have in this field? What does Hong Kong as a virtual fashion hub, what kind of opportunities does it hold? So again, questions for all of you, and then we can wrap up from there. Roger?
Yeah. I think the Hong Kong textile and clothing industry has a very long heritage, and we used to be the Asia manufacturing hub. But in the past 20 years, I guess most of the production has moved into China. And what left in Hong Kong is the connectivity with the consuming market. We know very well what our European customer or US customer require, and we communicate very well with our factory. So with digitalization, of course, our communication become better and better. We become very efficient. But at the end, what we want to do is, we can't keep on just doing the manufacturing. We need to add value to ourselves, right? And we want to create opportunity to our younger generation. And we don't expect young graduate from college go to a factory to do sewing work and manage a production floor. This business no longer available, right? So what's the value of Hong Kong? The value of Hong Kong is, first of all, knowing the market very well. Second, we have very strong manufacturing base around us, which is not far away. If you look at our manufacturing base, you just cross the border, it will take an hour, then you will be able to come to the factory, right? So if you look at the Greater Bay Area, look at the economy of scale, it's talking about 86 million people around this area. And the scale of economy is 1.7 trillion. It's a great opportunity. And Hong Kong has the fashion sense, has the great talent of fashion creator. So I would say if our younger generation really make the effort and take the opportunity of technological development without the high cost of brand building in the past, utilize the digital marketing and tap into the Greater Bay Area economy, I think that would be, a chance for us to go back to the old glory day of Hong Kong.
Very well put. Love the bit. Other panelists, like Christina, like opportunities for Hong Kong?
Actually, just as you mentioned, the Hong Kong has a long historical heritage position in textiles. And also for the China, actually, the apparel or fashion industry is quite very important for the whole China's economic. I think Hong Kong here is quite a special for the technique company like Tencent and other like tech company like TikTok. We are actually trying to export the virtual fashion ideas or business to the whole world. I think in this way, the Hong Kong, you have a lot of talent people. You have the very good institution, educational, the university, and you will be able to help our industry to understand more global fashions. Because here, just as the COVID-19 is still going on, and it's very hard to go outdoors. I think in this time, we especially need Hong Kong's strength to help to go out, to understand these global ways. So will be quite important, I think, the Hong Kong for us in the future. Yeah, and actually Tencent is a Hong Kong company, so we have office even in Hong Kong. So we work quite closely. Actually, we with the Hong Kong business here. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, proudly listed on Hong Kong Stock Exchange. I guess Sharon, like again, thoughts like closing thoughts about Hong Kong's opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that what used to be an industrial analog, competency that Hong Kong has, it would be great to see it accelerated to a digital competency, because when you then are able to merge the two together, then you will really have you will really be again that leader. You'll really take the leadership again in the apparel industry, especially in a world right now where people are looking at on demand. People are looking at onshoring, closer to different markets and all. So even export itself is, traditional export from one place to another country is also changing. This, however, I think that there's a great need for the industry in Hong Kong, the leadership of the industry in Hong Kong, to be really educated and to really understand what's going, to really understand how to embed such technologies, but beyond that, also to understand the players that are coming into this industry. I mean, 20 years ago or that in the past, when it was glory days for Hong Kong, you would never even think about a gaming company like Tencent or any gaming company taking its position in digital marketing, in digital branding, and in digital retailing, in using virtual technology, because it was so your competitors look different, will look different, and you need to up the game. So this would be my passing thought.
Good. Again, very good motivation, encouragement. Well, and Ayumi-san, like final words from you in terms of opportunities for Hong Kong.
Well, I think Hong Kong has the best talent for supply chain. I think this is for sure because of the heritage. And this is something that we should build upon. So I very much agree with that saying Hong Kong has to increase the digital competence. And one thing that we should also enforce on will be the sustainability, because we also have to strive towards the 30-60 goals of the sustainability, and how we can incorporate this to the supply chain. That's all around us. Actually, you can see the whole, probably 70% of the supply chain, it's around Hong Kong, China, Southeast Asia. And so I think sustainability, digitalization, creativity, it's something very important that Hong Kong can shine.
So sustainability as an opportunity. Ayumi?
Yeah, yes. So yeah, as everyone mentioned earlier, I think Hong Kong, is historically play very important roles. And then of course the sourcing and then supply chain. I think Hong Kong is the best location to provide all those production. And I think, yeah, it's definitely we need to adapt this digital things, and then we need to consider the sustainable way. And the business-wide, I think, yeah, it's definitely important role that we need to provide to like all of the world has a playing important role.
Great. So if I were to sum up this discussion that we had, I guess, into a few words, right? One is really imperative, right? I think what Roger said right at the beginning that, you know, to keep you in business, this is a must, like thinking about virtual fashion. Second word I would say is really complement. I think we talk a lot about different matters, but you notice everything is neither black or white. There's always a dichotomy, whether it's physical versus virtual, job loss versus job creation, opportunity challenges. Thinking about that dichotomy is key. And the last thing I think is to Sharon's point, right? Like, there's a huge challenge, but also opportunity that we as an industry can rise up to. And with that, again, super big thanks, huge round of applause to the panelists that we have here today. And thank you very much for joining us. I think to end off with, we want to have a omni-channel kind of picture session with the members of the panelists. So over to the